Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to be diving into something I bet you use every single day.
Probably even right now, even.
Yeah, exactly. The internet.
It can feel like magic sometimes, right? How it all works.
It really does. I mean, all these websites and videos and messages just kind of appear, right? Like magic.
Right, at our fingertips. But like any good magic trick, there's a fascinating explanation behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what we're going to try to unpack today.
Exactly. And we've got a whole stack of articles and research right here to help us demystify it.
We're going to be looking at how data travels, that network of cables that spans the globe.
Yeah.
We're going to peek into the future a little bit, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And we're going to unpack that analogy. The internet's like sending a digital postcard.
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, a lot of people use that one. But before we get into the how it all works, I've always been curious, can we even define what the internet is?
That's a great question and a great place to start. See, the internet isn't a single thing.
Yeah.
It's not a place. It's not a company.
Right.
It's more helpful to think of it as a global system,
Okay.
a system of interconnected computers and devices all across the world.
So it's less about like a physical thing and more about the connection.
Exactly. It's all about communication,
Yeah.
the flow of information between these devices constantly, all the time.
Gotcha.
And a key part of that is how data is broken down into these tiny packets for travel.
Oh, okay.
Think of it like a digital jigsaw puzzle.
Okay.
You break down a picture into small pieces so you can send it more easily, and then you reassemble it when it gets to where it's going.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
But all this talk about data packets traveling, it makes me think about like the physical infrastructure of the internet,
Oh, yes.
like the backbone.
The backbone.
It's actually holding it all together.
Now, picture this. Thousands of miles of fiber optic cables just snaking across the ocean floor,
Whoa.
carrying unimaginable amounts of data
Wow.
at the speed of light. Yeah, that's the foundation of those cables.
Undersea cables, thousands of miles long. That's insane. I never really thought about the physical makeup of the internet.
Oh, it's amazing. A marvel of engineering. Really.
Yeah.
And those cables are just the beginning.
Okay.
We also have all these routers and switches.
Okay.
And they act like air traffic controllers, right?
Yeah.
Making sure all the data packets are flowing smoothly and efficiently.
So it's not just about having those super fast cables, but about managing all that traffic intelligently too.
You got it. It's kind of amazing that it all runs so smoothly, isn't it?
Right. I
Isn't it?
mean, when you think about it,
Trillions of requests happening every
it
second.
makes you wonder.
And all that data has to go somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's where data centers come in.
Okay.
Massive warehouses filled with servers, storing and processing everything.
Storing everything.
Oh, yeah. All those big companies, Google, Amazon, Facebook, they
Yeah.
all rely on these huge data centers.
That's kind of mind-boggling to think about the scale. All our emails, photos, who knows what else is in there.
It really is. It's like this digital library of, well, everything.
Yeah. And of course, we can't forget about the internet service providers, or ISPs, as I think a lot of people know them.
Right.
They connect our homes and businesses to all of this.
They're our gateway to the online world.
So the ISPs are like the bridge between our devices and that global network. Cables and routers and data centers and all that.
Precisely. A lot of moving parts, huh?
Yeah, there really are. What's most remarkable to me is how it all works together.
It is pretty amazing. It's what makes the internet so robust.
Yeah,
What stands out to you so far? What are you thinking?
honestly, just the sheer scale of it all. I knew the internet was big, but learning about these cables and data centers, it really puts it into perspective.
I know what you mean.
But here's something I've always wondered. How do all these machines actually communicate with each other? I mean, it's like they're speaking different languages, right?
That's a great point. And that's where the internet protocols come in.
Oh.
They're like the rules, the set of rules that govern how all the devices on the internet talk to each other.
So like a universal language for machines.
Exactly. And the two most important ones are IP and TCP.
Okay. I always hear about IP addresses and TCP, but to be honest, I'm not really sure what they do.
No problem. It's actually pretty straightforward. Let's start with IP, which stands for Internet Protocol.
Okay.
Think of it like a digital street address.
Okay.
Every single device connected to the internet has a unique IP address, and that's how it can be located and identified on the network.
Ah, so when I send an email or visit a website, it's going to a specific IP address, kind of like delivering a letter to a house.
That's a great way to think about it. And then we have TCP, which is short for Transmission Control Protocol.
Right.
And this one makes sure all those data packets, remember those little pieces?
Yeah.
TCP makes sure they are all delivered in the right order and without errors.
So TCP is like the postal service, making sure the pieces of the puzzle arrive intact and in the right spots.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm starting to see how it all fits together.
Good. IP and TCP are fundamental to how the internet works.
Yeah.
They're the foundation that makes all that communication possible, ensuring that data can flow freely and reliably across the entire globe.
Wow.
It's pretty cool when you think about it.
This is making a lot more sense now, yeah. But can we walk through a specific example? Like what actually happens when I type in a website, let's say, and hit enter?
I thought you might ask that.
Yeah.
Let's take a deep dive into the journey of a data packet, shall we? All right, so imagine you're sitting at your computer,
Ready to explore the vastness of the internet.
exactly, and you type in a website address, let's just say www.example.com.
Okay.
Hit enter.
Seems simple enough.
Right. But that single action actually sets off this whole chain reaction of events.
I bet. I have a feeling there's way more happening than I realized.
Oh, absolutely. And it all happens so fast.
Yep.
First, your request to visit that website, www.example.com.
Okay.
It gets sent to a DNS server.
DNS server. Now that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Doesn't that have something to do with like translating the website name into something the computer understands?
You got it. DNS stands for Domain Name System.
Okay.
And it's basically the internet's phone book, right?
Okay.
It translates that human-readable website address, the one you typed in, into the IP address, that unique number.
Ah, so it's like looking up a friend's phone number using their name.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Much easier than memorizing all those digits, right?
Right.
So now your computer has the IP address,
Okay.
and it sends a request to that specific location on the internet.
Does it go directly there, like straight to the website?
Not quite. It's more like a relay race.
Oh, okay.
The request first goes through your ISP, your internet service provider.
Right, right. Our gateway to the wider internet.
Exactly.
And then what?
Well, then it travels across all that infrastructure we talked about, all those routers and switches.
Like those traffic controllers.
Exactly. And they're all guiding your request, making sure it takes the most efficient path to get where it needs to go.
So each router is like a checkpoint, making sure the data packet is on the right track.
Perfect analogy.
Okay.
And all of this is happening crazy fast,
It's got to be.
like a fraction of a second.
That's incredible.
The internet is amazingly fast.
Yeah.
So finally, after this little journey,
Uh-huh.
your request reaches the server.
The server that actually hosts the website.
Exactly. We made it,
We reached the source.
right? The source,
Hmm.
where all that data is stored.
So what happens then once the server gets the request?
Well, it jumps into action. It gathers all the data for that website. Everything. The text, images, videos, all of it.
Okay.
And packages it up into more data packets.
Oh, wow.
And then those packets start their return journey.
Okay.
They follow a similar path back through those routers and switches, back through your ISP.
So they basically retrace their steps.
They do.
Yeah.
And it still only takes milliseconds.
That's so fast. You click a link and boom, the website's there. I never realized how much was happening.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yeah.
But hold on. The journey isn't over quite yet.
Oh.
Those data packets still need to be reassembled.
Oh, right. Of course. Like
Mhm.
putting the puzzle back together.
Exactly. And they need to be in the right order.
And that's where TCP comes back in.
You got it. TCP makes sure everything's in the right spot and in the right sequence.
Wow.
And just like that, the website appears.
Yeah.
As if by magic.
That's wild. All that's happening behind the scenes every time we visit a website.
It's like this complex choreography of data packets, routers, servers, protocols, all perfectly timed.
It's a lot.
It really is a remarkable feat of engineering.
Yeah. But as amazing as it is, I imagine the internet's not without its problems.
They're right about that.
Like with more and more people online, more devices connecting every day, it's got to get complicated.
It does.
So what are some of the biggest challenges facing the internet today?
Well, one of the most pressing is bandwidth limitations.
Right.
Think of it like a highway.
Okay, yeah.
As more and more cars get on the highway.
It gets crowded.
Exactly.
Sure.
Traffic jams. As the number of devices online increases, that demand for internet access grows.
Right.
And those data highways, they can get congested.
So even though we have those awesome fiber optic cables, there's still a limit to how much data can go through at once.
Exactly. And then there's the challenge of cybersecurity.
Oh.
As our lives become more and more digital, more intertwined with the internet,
Yeah.
we become more vulnerable.
To like hackers and data breaches and stuff.
All of that. It's
Yeah.
this constant battle to keep everything secure and stay ahead of the threats.
Yeah, cybersecurity is a big one for sure.
It is. It is. And we can't forget about the digital divide either.
Oh, right. The gap between those who have access and those who don't.
Exactly.
I mean, it's easy to take internet access for granted, but I know for a lot of people, it's just not a reality.
That's right. It's a complex issue, and there are a lot of factors involved.
Like what kinds of things?
Well, sometimes it's the infrastructure, you know? Those cables and networks just haven't reached certain areas yet.
Oh, right, like in rural communities.
Exactly. And sometimes it's the cost, you know? Internet access can be expensive.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's not just about the technology itself. It's about making it accessible and affordable to everyone.
So there's still work to be done.
There is. But alongside these challenges, there's also a lot of excitement about the future of the internet. You know?
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, new technologies are always emerging, and some of them are really groundbreaking. They could revolutionize how we connect with each other.
Speaking of the future, that's what I was hoping we'd get to. What kind of innovations are we talking about?
Well, one that's already making waves is 5G.
5G. Yeah, I've heard about that.
It's going to be huge. It promises super fast internet speeds, especially on mobile devices.
So we're talking like downloading movies in seconds.
Exactly. And things like virtual reality, but so much clearer and smoother.
Wow, that does sound pretty amazing.
It is. But, we were just talking about the digital divide,
Right.
and not everyone even has basic internet access yet. So it's important to remember that too.
Yeah, 5G is great, but it's not going to help those who are completely disconnected.
Exactly. And that's where things like SpaceX's Starlink project come in.
Starlink? What's that?
They're using a network of satellites to provide high-speed internet access, even to the most remote areas.
Wait, satellite internet? So even if you're in the middle of nowhere, you could still have good internet.
That's the goal. It's pretty ambitious, but if it works, it could be a huge step in closing that digital divide.
That's incredible. It sounds like something out of science fiction.
It does. And there's one more I want to touch on.
Okay.
Quantum computing.
Quantum computing. Okay, now we're getting really futuristic.
I know, right? It's a whole new field, and it has the potential to completely change how we think about computers and computing power.
Okay, I'm listening.
Quantum computers use the principles of quantum mechanics to perform calculations at unbelievable speeds.
Unbelievable how, faster than regular computers?
Way faster than anything we have today, even supercomputers.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's mind-blowing.
So, what could we actually do with that kind of power? What would it mean for the internet?
Well, it's still early days, but it could revolutionize so many things. Drug discovery, artificial intelligence, all kinds of fields.
Oh.
And for the internet, we're talking things like unbreakable encryption,
Oh, wow.
lightning-fast search algorithms, maybe even entirely new ways of communicating online that we haven't even thought of yet.
It sounds like we're on the edge of a whole new era of the internet.
We are. It's exciting, and maybe a little bit daunting, too.
Yeah, I can see that. But one thing's for sure, it sounds like the internet is far from finished evolving.
Oh, absolutely. It's constantly changing and growing.
This deep dive has been so eye-opening. I mean, we've covered everything from undersea cables to satellite internet and quantum computing.
And it's all connected.
It really highlights how the internet is more than just technology. It's reshaping the whole world.
You said it perfectly. And as we move forward, it's important to remember that the internet is a tool, and it can be used for good or bad.
Oh, that's a good point.
It's up to us to shape its future.
To make sure it's a force for positive change.
Exactly. So I'm curious, what aspect of the internet's future are you most excited about? What are you thinking?
That is a great question. For me, I think it's the potential for connection and understanding,
Mhm.
imagine a world where you could talk to anyone, anywhere, and language isn't a barrier.
Oh, wow.
Instant translation, just like that.
That would be amazing.
Right. Or think about education.
Yeah.
Anyone, anywhere could learn anything. They could access any information.
All thanks to the internet.
Exactly. It really makes you realize that the internet is more than just technology.
What is it then?
It's a reflection of us, of humanity. This desire to connect, to share, to learn.
It's powerful stuff. We talked about the challenges, the bandwidth, the security risks, that digital divide.
Right,
But
right.
it sounds like there's a lot of hope, too. Oh, definitely. 5G, Starlink, quantum computing, all of these things have the potential to make the internet even better,
More powerful.
more accessible.
It's incredible how far we've come since the early days,
I know. Remember dial-up,
Ugh, don't remind me.
those clunky websites.
Yeah.
It's amazing to think how much has changed.
And it's still changing. This deep dive has been fascinating. We've covered so much ground.
We have, from those physical cables to data packets and protocols,
Quantum computers, satellite internet.
and we've only just scratched the surface.
I know. It makes you want to keep learning more.
Right. There's always something new to discover with the internet.
So true. We hope you've enjoyed this journey with us, and we encourage you to keep exploring,
Absolutely.
keep learning.
Keep asking questions. As we sign off, we want to leave you with one last question to think about.
Okay, hit us with it.
What aspect of the internet's future are you most excited about?
Good one.
What are you most looking forward to, and why?
Take some time to think about it. The possibilities, the challenges, the role you want to play in shaping this digital world.
It's an exciting time to be a part of it all.
Well, that's it for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.